San Marcos, Texas is the site of the series finale between the Coastal Bend Tidal Wave and the Texas Monarchs. After dropping the first two games of the series, the Tidal Wave battled back to win last night behind an offensive explosion. Today, Coastal Bend looks to earn a weekend split, while the Monarchs play for a series win here at Bobcat Softball Stadium. Coming to you on the official WPF YouTube channel, Brant Freeman, along with Bill Colhane. And looking back at last night's game, Bill, the story was Coastal Bend's 14-run outburst.
Yeah, you look at the lumber that the Tidal Wave brought to the park last night. 14 hits, 4 doubles, 5 home runs. Every time the Monarchs tried to creep back into the game, the Tidal Wave had the answer.
And so that potent Coastal Bend lineup putting up 14 runs on 14 hits last night, a very robust number. Well, tonight is up to Sona Halajan to keep that lineup in check. Last time Halajan pitched here was last week against the best lineup in the league, the Texas Smoke. Gave up 6 earned in 2 innings and looking for a bounce-back effort here this afternoon. She'll face a Coastal Bend lineup looking like this. Leading off again, Malaysia Ochoa, who's arguably been the hottest hitter in the series so far. Tit Whitley bats second, should be followed by Trinity Cannon in the first inning. And then batters 4, 5, and 6, Kelly Lynch, Tatum Ansaldo, and Ryder Wiggins. And then batters 7 through 9, Michaela Ramos, Rock Benavidez, and Grace Chelleman.
And Brand, we talk about those 14 runs last night and what Halajan is going to be tasked with this afternoon. But how many times have we talked about this? Those 14 runs, the 14 base hits for the Tidal Wave, you mix in 3 walks and 4 hit batters, and that's going to cause problems for the Monarchs if they can't eliminate the free bases today.
We're going to look at Sona Halajan, two-way player at UCF this past season, her lone year in Orlando, before that 4 years at Cal. Helped lead the Golden Knights out of the Big 12 to the Tallahassee Regional this past spring. So into the box, Malaysia Ochoa talked about just how red hot she has been. Ochoa last night was at reach base all 5 times, a couple of doubles, scored twice. Was also homer to the series, steps in and fouls off the first pitch, and she's also reached base with a base hit to lead off all 3 games.
The consummate table setter does a great job of getting on base for the likes of Whitley, Cannon, Lynch, and Zaldo.
No balls, 1 strike. Ochoa against Halajan, swung on off the glove of Halajan, knocks it down, recovers, and gets the out. And so she's done something that the starters the last 3 days have failed to do, and that's retire Ochoa to start the game.
Feels her position. How many times in last night's game did we see the pitchers do a good job of fielding their position? Of course, on the suicide squeeze, Hamilton was able to flip it to the catcher Ramos to retire Piper. Big out in that ball game.
And out of the plate with the bases empty, Tate Whitley here for the Tidal Wave. Fouls off the first pitch. Whitley last night had a couple of base hits and an RBI. You look at the big innings that Bill talked about, those crooked number innings. 5 runs in the second, 5 in the 7th, 3 runs in the 3rd inning. Well, again, this team had pockets of big-time success at the plate.
And you talk about the pop, the slug. The Tidal Wave had it and then some last night.
Fly ball left center field. That's going to drop for a hit. Rolls all the way to the wall there in left center. And Willie is on with a 1-out double.
Watch Whitley's stroke here. She kind of lets the ball do the work. She provides the contact. And because she's kind of a slap hitter, the outfield was in. And once it split the gap, no doubt that was 2 bases.
Last night, the Tidal Wave hit 3 doubles. That's her first here of the finale, and it brings up Trinity Cannon. Runner on, 1 out, and a strike from Halajan.
Last night's game, it didn't last, but the Monarchs were able to survive a first inning double. Ochoa led off the game last night with a double and ended up not scoring, but then the floodgates opened.
Yeah, they really did. And there could have been even more damage for the Tidal Wave last night. They left 8 runners on base. They have left 21 on so far in the series. And the number with runners in scoring position isn't terrible, but it isn't great. 8 for 30 through 3 games.
We have our first towel sighting, Brent. Those who were tuned in last night, you see Halajan out there with a towel.
Not quite the size of Kelly Lynch's, but that's still pretty big out there. Popped up by Cannon. Lily Piper from first base, able to battle the sun and makes the catch for out number 2. So Lynch's towel is so big she kind of tucks it into her belt loop. Halajan's is, quote, small enough she can tuck it into her back pocket.
It is another warm day here in San Marcos as we joke about the temperatures outside as we sit in our 72-degree climate-controlled booth.
Can you turn the AC up? There's a base hit up the middle by Lynch. Routing third, coming home to the plate. Whitley, the throw and the tag, both in time for the outs. What a throw from Briley St. Clair. Misses a throw to home. The tag from Torres, and that's going to end the inning.
On the money.
And an incredible highlight reel play ends the top of the first inning. What a bullet again from Briley St. Clair. Tate Whitley dead to rights, and we go to the bottom of the first inning. Monarchs coming to bat for the first time after a dynamite defensive play. We're back after this in San Marcos. In the circle this afternoon for Coastal Bend is Cassie Valdez, who started the opener on Thursday, and man, was she good. 6 innings, struck out 12, only walked 1. Now, did give up 7 earned runs because she made 3 mistakes on Thursday, surrendering 3 homers that led to all 7 of those runs. A 2-run homer given up to Kelly Torres, another 2-run shot to Brookshire, and, of course, a walk-off bomb from Sarah Vanderford. The lineup today for the Monarchs: Kylie Sand, Devin Flaherty, and the aforementioned Vanderford lead off here in the first. Then it is Lily Piper, Brookshire, and Torres, hitters 4 through 6. Bottom third, Jenna Keene, Emily Hott, and Briley St. Clair.
You mentioned Valdez and those 3 pitches. That was one of the things we talked about last night, is such a thin margin for success or not being able to get the result you want.
Inning start to the strike, pumped in by Valdez, facing Kylie Sand. Sand last night 0 for 4 with a run scored in the 14-8 setback. That ball lined right to Anzaldo at first base, playing at first base again. Anzaldo, her normal position, shortstop. As you look back at the play here, before the game on Friday, something happened during pregame warm-up. She was a late scratch, then came off the bench to hit a pinch hit homer, and started at first base last night and again here this afternoon.
Yeah, I watched Anzaldo in pregame warm-ups, and she appeared to be moving fine. Now, we all understand anybody who's ever suffered an injury, sometimes it doesn't take much to tweak something and reignite an issue, but it was good to see the way she was moving around in pregame, and even on that play, it looks like she was moving okay.
Devin Flaherty swings and pops that one up left side and playable. With the shades on, Whitley makes the catch, and 2 quick outs for Valdez here in the first.
This is the scenario the Tidal Wave want. Heck, this is the scenario anybody in the WPF wants, and that is Sarah Vanderford coming up to the plate with nobody on.
Vanderford in game 3 last night. Big night for her. 2 for 4 with 4 RBI to include a 2-run homer. 2 home runs to the series for the ex-Texas State Bobcat. That's in there for a strike from Valdez. 0-1. These two facing off against each other for the first time since Vanderford walked off against Valdez with a moonshot to left on Thursday.
Yeah, that was a drive home safely swing of the bat by Vanderford.
By the way, with the win yesterday for the Tidal Wave, they have seesawed back into second place in the WPF standings at 11-15, a half-game lead over the Monarchs, who are 10-15.
Meanwhile, the Smoke keep trucking along, huh?
Swing and a miss. Good change up there from Valdez, 1-2. Yeah, the Smoke winning again last night over Hub City, 8-2. They are now 24-1 and have won 21 straight. 1-2 pitch. Grounder. Picked by Cannon, and the throw to first base in time. And a 1-2-3 first for Cassie Valdez. And so a lightning quick first inning takes less than 10 minutes. We go to the second. No score in the finale here in San Marcos between Coastal Bend and the Texas Monarchs. We're back after this at Bobcat Softball Stadium. With last night's win for Blake Miller's team, they now lead the season series against the Monarchs 7-3. After winning last night's game 14-8, they won the first two series when these two hooked up. A couple of series in Robstown, meeting in San Marcos for the first time, but a chance here today to earn a series split. And Blake Miller, Bill, somebody you had a chance to visit with before the game.
Yeah, real briefly, just talking with Coach Miller about his continued connections to the great city of Corpus Christi. Once upon a time, he was head coach of the Islanders down there along the coast. And you know how the clock is ticking towards the end of the season? You know what else is coming to an end? An opportunity for us to get one of those gorgeous hats.
Gosh,
Huh?
You got me on that one. I didn't see that coming. You're right. Running out of time for that. 1 week left in the regular season, then the postseason the week after. And it does appear that these two teams are destined to face one another. Tidal Wave in second place, Monarchs in third, and Hub City is right now a rather distant fourth. It would take a lot for them to get back into the top three.
Yeah, no doubt, and I think it's clear to say, easy to say that the Smoke are rolling along, but how fun would a three-game series be? Monarchs v. Tidal Wave.
Alzondo with a high drive, left field, but the Park's going to hold this in front of the warning track. Hott makes the catch. And so far, something that we have noticed is that there's been a lot of good contact so far against Sona Halajan.
Yeah, I'll say this off the bat there, and maybe it's because of what Anzaldo's been able to do this season. We've seen her go deep so often, but off the bat, I thought that was going to carry a little bit more. Now, the wind is blowing in from left field towards right field. It's reversed of what it was last night. Get a look at it there. So the wind is coming from, what is that, the northwest, as opposed to blowing out from the southeast as we saw last night when it was home run derby time.
Especially for this young lady right here, Rylan Wiggins. What a night last night. She was our player of the game. Here with a ground ball to Sand, and now there's 2 outs. But Wiggins last night finished the game 3 for 4, 2 homers, a double, and drove in 3.
I think you pointed out, Brand, at one point early on in the broadcast, I guess it was after her second home run, But bridging back to the end of game 2, she had, 3 straight at-bats with homers?
It was 3 out of 4.
3 out of 4.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's pretty good production.
Bases empty, 2 outs for Michaela Ramos. Scoreless game in the top of the second. Ground ball knocked down by Halajan again. Recovers, throws. In time for the out. And a 1-2-3 second for Sona Halajan. So Halajan twice has been challenged in the circle to make defensive plays, and both times she's come through. Bill calls it fielding your position. Halajan does that as we go to the bottom of the second. Still no score in San Marcos. Tyler Gunnarsson once again holding down the fort. He has been the acting head coach all 4 games of the series in place of Canada's Finn Bachrader, who's back home with family after an emergency earlier this week. Hope again everything is okay with her and the family. And so far, Tyler Gunnarsson has helped guide his team to a couple of wins in the series. Won the opener in walk-off fashion on Thursday, held on for a 5-4 win on Friday, and today looking for a bounce-back victory to take the series.
Yeah, what would that say for his resume? If he was able to put on the resume that he guided the Monarchs to a 3-1 outcome over the weekend against Coastal Bend. And by the way, Brand, I echo your sentiments regarding Coach and her family. Hope all is 100%. Well.
Leading off the second inning, Lily Piper here for the Monarchs against Cassie Valdez. And fires in a strike to start off the at-bat. So you mentioned that the smoke just keep on trucking, right? So they won last night 8-2 over Hub City, outscoring the Adelitas in the first 3 games of that series 29-7. Nothing into the count here to Halajan. So their lead over the Tidal Wave for first place, again, they cannot be caught, 13.5 games.
Yeah, you just wonder going into the postseason what the Smoke will be able to do with such a comfortable lead in terms of giving other players even more reps. I think they already do a good job of using their bench.
Piper pokes a base hit to center. That's the first hit of the day for the Monarchs. A leadoff single here in the second.
Yeah, Piper does a nice job staying back. And again, not much of a swing. You don't have to always swing hard. Sometimes the pitcher will provide the momentum. You provide the contact. Piper uses the biggest part of the field right up the middle.
Piper's hit well in this ballpark this year. A .275 hitter in San Marcos before that base hit. And now 17-plus games. Along the way, 3 homers and 7 RBI for one of the longtime professional vets on this team, this expansion franchise. Speaking of which, now you go to Susie Brookshire. So both Piper and Brookshire have been playing pro softball since 2017.
Yeah, great to see the vets. And that's one thing about the WPF, just what you painted, in that there is the experience, the vets who have been here a minute, so to speak, and then you see the rookies come into the league, and it's a great mix of the seasoned vets and the newcomers. By the way, during the break there, Brant, not sure if everybody caught it, but Vickers headed over to the first base coaching box for the Monarchs.
Yeah, there for the 3rd time in 4 days. Fouled back by Brookshire. Now, I do wonder if at some point Vickers, as she's asked to come in to pitch, who takes over at first? Is it the pitcher she replaces?
Well, hasn't Halajan appeared as first base coach?
She has.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think there's your answer.
Now, something you and I were wondering last night, things got kind of heated with a couple of plays at the plate, calls that did not go the Monarchs' way, and Tyler Gunnelson got really hot about that. If he were to be ejected, then who is the acting head coach in the team?
Well, yeah, we talked about it last night, and who's to know? Hopefully it doesn't come into play.
Yeah, I don't want to see that. Just curious if it had happened. Brookshire with a line shot that bounces off the wall. On her way to third base goes Piper. Going to stop there. Now she's coming home. Flip to home plate, and she is safe. So Piper put on the brakes initially, but then just kept on coming. After changing her mind, comes home to score, and it is 1-0 Monarchs.
And that is an incredible demonstration of why, as a base runner, why you're always paying attention, ready to advance to that next base, not giving up on the play. As soon as Piper saw the overthrow, she was off to the races. Heady play.
Piper, one of those players that was involved in a controversial play at the plate last night. Nothing controversial about this. Scores easily. That's easy for me to say. She scores without there being a dramatic play at the plate. No question whether or not she did score there to put the Monarchs on top 1-0.
Don't see an error charged yet in the official scoring, as Brookshire credited with a double and an RBI.
After the double from Brookshire, batting now Kelly Torres. Count even, 1 ball, 1 strike. Torres has also had a productive series so far. A 2-run homer for her on Thursday. Homered again last night. In fact, last night, a perfect night of the plate for Torres, 4 for 4. This a pop-up. And to right, Shellerman is in a few steps and puts it away for the first out.
Well, and Chettleman lost sight of the fact there was a runner at second. She throws it in, and that allows Brookshire to go from second to third uncontested.
Oh, a tough sequence there, and now the infield and outfield will meet. The situational awareness kind of escaping Grace Chettleman there, no doubt.
Yeah, Brookshire had no intent. The ball wasn't hit deep enough for Brookshire to tag and advance second to third, and again, Chettleman ends up throwing the ball back in towards first base. Here, watch. There's a runner at second, and you see the moment of realization.
Yeah.
There's another look at Brookshire. She's stopping. And last night, Coastal Bend won the game 14-8, and I think sometimes as fans we're inclined to say, oh, everything went perfect for Coastal Bend last night. Wasn't necessarily true. There were defensive misplays a few times, and the Tidal Wave did give up 8 runs.
Well, and now this opens up several possibilities for Brookshire to score from third as opposed to second.
Yeah, you know, we've always made the joke, right? Make a list of ways to score from second, then make a list of ways to score from third and see which list is longer.
You go from a chapter to a book. Jenna Keene behind of the count, 0-1. Reaches for that one and fouls it away. How about the home run she hit last night, huh?
Yeah, you said it during the broadcast. You said, and we've seen some bombs, some absolute missiles this season, but the one she hit last night, that flirted with maybe being one of the longer ones. Ended up on Texas State's practice football field.
And this is high. 1 ball and 2 strikes to Jenna Keene, former Ragin' Cajun. 2 years in Lafayette. Before that, 3 years at Arizona in the Pac-12.
And you and I said earlier this season, I know that, you know, Tucson and Lafayette, those cities a little different.
Both can get, though, pretty hot, so I'm sure playing in 93-degree temperatures for Keene, nothing new.
I imagine in Tucson you can't get a good bowl of jambalaya, or you can't find good boudin.
I guess that's true. What would be the equivalent the other way?
I've had some really good Mexican food in my visits to Tucson.
Mexican food are really good, like Tex-Mex.
Yeah. Yeah, Tucson's a beautiful city. So is Lafayette. You and I, of course, have spent a lot of time in Lafayette, Louisiana.
Yeah, I'll be honest, I'm naive as to what the local cuisine is in Tucson. Haven't been there enough.
Yeah, we have family there in Tucson. My wife actually has family there, so we visited. On my way to Palm Springs back in January, spent the night in Tucson.
2 balls, 2 strikes to Keene. As Bill and I talk about cuisine here. Here's all that I know about Mexican food. It's not all that great in Idaho.
In Idaho, right? Boy, that's a story. You and I keep talking about the book we're going to co-write, and that would certainly go into one of the chapters.
It wasn't in Moscow, right? It was in Lewiston?
Lewiston, which is about an hour and 45-minute drive down the mountain.
Keene strikes out, dropped 3rd strike. Ramos recovers, throws, but it bounces off of Keene, and Brookshire's going to score. And now Keene motors to second base. So strikes out, but we talked about situational awareness. Keene saw the ball get away, takes advantage, and a run scores.
Boy, and the defensive misplays continue for Coastal Bend. An accurate throw gets Keene at first and very likely prevents Brookshire from making the mad dash from third.
So a rough defensive inning here for the Tidal Wave. 2 runs have scored because of it. And now Emily Hott with a pop-up. That's gloved by Wiggins for out number 2. Taking you behind the curtain on that night in Lewiston. We're getting ready to cover a football game at one of the more iconic venues in North America, the Kibbe Dome. But got in so late, food options were limited. What's open? Oh, this Mexican place is open. We'll try it. As we see, Briley St. Clair laser one to Anzaldo. Able to glove that to end the inning. Anzaldo says, so much for your story, I'm making one of my own. St. Clair with a shot off her bat, handled by Anzaldo. And we go to the 3rd inning after the Monarchs scored twice. They're on top of the Tidal Wave, 2-0, and playing for a series win.
I'm never going back to Moscow, Idaho. You're right.
Boy, again, a really tough defensive second inning for Blake Miller's team. You look at the outfield play, and then a play made by the catcher, Michaela Ramos, as well. And some of those miscues leading to 2 runs scoring the first 2 of the game, and the Tidal Wave find themselves down 2-0.
If you love softball, you love numbers, you love stats, well, right now, the Wave have 1 error, like official error, but in terms of those subtle misplays that don't get recorded as errors, there were some instances there in that inning where the Tidal Wave didn't make good defensive plays. Just put it that way.
So as a result, a 2-0 game as we go to the top of the 3rd inning. Sona Halajan, her 3rd inning of work in the circle. At a 1-2-3 second, now facing the bottom part of the order. Here's Rock Benavidez, and takes a strike as 0-1.
Benavidez in the official batting order we were provided lineup listed as the DP, but of course playing second base.
0-1, that ball drilled foul. Counts 0-2. Well, I know everybody's dying to hear the finish to that story.
Lewiston?
Yep.
Go ahead.
So you described the decor very bright when we went into that Mexican restaurant.
Yeah, red, green, and white lights. There were little, flags of Mexico throughout the facility. We had the place to ourselves.
We did.
And maybe that's telling.
0-2 pitch in the dirt. Now, some of this, too, is that we're Mexican food snobs because we get to enjoy some of the greatest here where we live in South Central Texas. The food I would describe taking a Hungry Man enchilada and blasting in the microwave 2 minutes too long.
You're being kind.
Now, all the great folks listening in from Lewiston, I'm sure there are some great restaurants there. I'm sure you guys do potatoes really well in Lewiston, but the Mexican food restaurant that night just wasn't it.
Yeah, not at all.
Meanwhile, Halajan climbing the ladder gets her first strikeout of the game. Nobody on, one away. The 9-hole hitter comes up now, Grace Chellerman. Trying to make amends after that tough defensive play, but instead rolls to Flaherty at shortstop. And how about Sona Halajan? 5 in a row, sat down.
Against a batting order coming off 14 runs, 14 hits, 4 doubles, and 5 home runs last night. If there was ever a batting order coming in with momentum, it's this one in the first base dugout.
It's so funny how momentum can come to a screeching halt, though, one day to the next in this sport. Softball and baseball for that matter. You hear the saying, momentum is the next day's starting pitcher, right?
You hear it all the time, and it's accurate.
You feel like there's more carryover when talking about some of the other mainstream sports out there, football, soccer, basketball, game to game. But in baseball and softball, now the smoke would say otherwise, right? They've won 21 in a row. But that, I think, is due in large part of the talent that they have. But when you're playing with a level playing field, it's really tough to build on one game to the next.
Yeah, when we showed up at the ballpark today.
Here's a high drive to center and making the catch, St. Clair. So another 3 up and 3 down.
Yeah, when we showed up at the ballpark today, there were zeros on the scoreboard. And right now, the Monarchs 2-zip. There aren't that many restaurants in Lewiston.
And welcome back to beautiful Bobcat Softball Stadium. A 93-degree day, sunny and bright and hot, but again, a great setting for WPF softball. Just 1 week to go in the regular season. The next series here next weekend will be between Coastal Bend and the Texas Smoke to close out the regular season for the Monarchs. This is their final home game of the regular campaign.
And that's a good thing you point out there. Accurate point there, Brant. Final regular season home game. Of course, folks, you just got a really good look at the venue that'll be host of the playoff series.
Mm-hmm. Meanwhile, back to business here. Bottom of the 3rd inning. 2-0. Monarchs on top. Top of the order facing Cassie Valdez for a second time. Conley Sanders falling behind 0-2. We were going through the resume of Valdez, the pitcher, when she started on Thursday. So impressive. And Sand knocks one off her glove. Coming in from short is Wiggins, but doesn't have a play. And Sand is on with an infield base hit. But back to Valdez. So started her college career here in San Marcos for Texas State for 2 seasons, and then transferred to nearby Our Lady of the Lake, an NAIA program out of San Antonio, and built her 3 years as a Saints. The record for the team, 154-24, smoke-like numbers. This year, winning a national championship, OLLU went 57-3.
That's a good record. Our Lady of the Lake, for those of you who don't keep track, I know it's not a common, a familiar name, but in terms of athletics, Our Lady of the Lake over the years has produced some really good teams, and not just softball. 57-3.
57-3. Flaherty with a pop-up, left side, and not enough time for Whitley to track that down.
Can you imagine if you're one of the 3?
And I believe when looking back to the schedule, those losses did not come until the NAIA postseason.
Wow.
Didn't lose a single home game, 28-0. And we made this point when talking about Valdez, so she clearly has the talent to play at a very high level. Here she is in the WPF and struck out 12 pro hitters with these pro bats on Thursday. But it was a matter of opportunity. Where would it come? There wasn't one here for her at Texas State. Goes to Our Lady of the Lake. D1 talent, but plays at NAIA, dominates, and now here she is playing pro softball.
If there's one thing we know about Texas State's program under Ricky Woodard is Texas State's had a lot of success with some great players in that circle. Jessica Mullins, who's on the staff, pitching staff for the Smoke, was in front of Valdez. Before that, Randy Rupp. She herself a professional once upon a time. Randy Rupp Hennigan is her name now, of course.
0-2 to Flaherty. Swing and a miss. Sand takes off for second, slides, and she's safe. So advancing on a ball in the dirt, but Flaherty strikes out. Second strikeout today for Valdez.
Good anticipation by Sand, sees the ball down, and immediately takes off. It's got to be an instant decision if you're that runner at first. Ramos does a nice job of blocking the ball, keeping it right there, but heads-up play by Sand to get herself into scoring position. In effect, it was a sacrifice bunt kind of result.
Runner at second, 1 out for Sarah Vandeford. 0 for 1 today with a ground out to her third base counterpart, Cannon at third.
This has been the kind of moment this season where Vandeford has been able to shine, producing runs.
These two briefly teammates together at Texas State in the COVID-shortened 2020 year. It was after that Valdez made the decision to transfer. You talked about it, the Texas State program, again, it's their facility hosting about half the WPF games this year. A program known for so many great pitchers over the years. But that's not to say there haven't been great hitters. There have been, and Vandeford may be, at least in terms of the numbers, the greatest in the history of Bobcat softball.
Well, you and I have been around the program for a while. I was here at what was then Southwest Texas when they opened up the first box of softballs and got the first bats out. And I'll say this, Vandeford, she's sitting at the table. If she's not at the head of the table, she's sitting at the table.
She ranks first or second in team history in 8 different offensive categories. I would say her and Kristen Zielinski are 1 and 2. You determine the order. Top 2 offensive players all time here.
And I think that would be the question. That would be the debate. And there would be no winners or losers in determining the 1-2, 2-1. Both exceptional players.
Rolls out one foul. Zaleski herself went on to play for the U.S. national team.
Yeah, now into coaching. Was on the Oklahoma staff, I know, for a while.
And she, like Blake Miller, once upon a time the head coach at Texas A&M Corpus Christi.
Exactly right.
Swing and a miss. Back-to-back case for Valdez. Blows that right by Vanderford. That's her third strikeout today.
Well, as we just kind of set the stage there, that is a big strikeout against Vanderford. Don't see that very often. Now it's up to Piper to pick up her teammates. Because you just get the feeling in your bones that 2 runs might not be enough.
You and I had the chance to see Valdez pitch against the Smoke a few weeks back, a series of doubleheaders the WPF was playing here. The Smoke against the Tidal Wave, the Monarchs against the Adelitas, and Valdez held her own against that lineup across 5 innings.
Yeah, she did, but as we've seen from the Smoke time and time again, right, they just wait their moments. They're patient, and then once they start stringing together hits, it's Katie bar the door.
If memory serves, that was a 1-0 game with the Tidal Wave on top going into the bottom of the 6th inning that night. 1-1 from Valdez is high, ball, or no, it's in there, strike, I beg your pardon, 1-2.
And then the floodgates open, but, you know, that's not a criticism of Valdez because there's a long list of pitchers, very good pitchers in the WPF who have suffered that fate.
Right down the heart of the plate. Back-to-back-to-back strikeouts of 3 tremendous hitters by Cassie Valdez. Flaherty, Vanderford, Piper, all strike out. We go to the 4th. 2-0 Monarchs over the Tidal Wave here in San Marcos. How about Cassie Valdez, the starting pitcher for Coastal Bend in the bottom of the 3rd inning, after giving up a leadoff single to Kylie Sand, roars back and strikes out Flaherty, Vanderford, and Piper. This after she struck out 12 on Thursday, up to 4 here this afternoon.
Yeah, let's change her name. It's not Cassie, it's Kassie, Cassie. That was something else. Kind of breathtaking, right?
Yeah.
Because for the Monarchs, it was setting up as a really good inning when, you know, you get Sand to the lead off, get on base, and you're thinking, okay. And Cassie said, nuh-uh.
And so with that, we go to the top of the 4th inning in a 2-0 game. Big bats coming up for the Tidal Wave here. Whitley, Cannon, and Lynch, hitters 2, 3, and 4. That offense that put up a robust 14 runs last night. Scoreless so far through 3 against Sona Halajan. Halajan herself has retired 6 straight and right on cue. There's a base hit by Whitley. Goes all the way to the wall. And Whitley with her 2nd double of the day.
Our team back in the studio, if they didn't get a replay of that at-bat, all they need to do is go back to her first at-bat and run that one because it was identical. Nice inside-out approach, goes opposite field.
Yeah, both doubles, you said, opposite field, both to the gap in left center. Yep. Rinse and repeats. Ground ball to short by Cannon, and one away. Here in the fourth, Cannon is 0 for 2.
Good base running there by Whitley. You're taught as a base runner at second. Any ground ball in front of you, you're going to hold. You're going to stay, and did a nice job of making sure she didn't get thrown out trying to get an extra base there. That would have been a pain for Coastal Bend.
Pop up by Lynch, first base side. That's out of play for strike one.
We have a visitor to the booth.
Yes, we do. A winged visitor with a stinger, and I'm not a fan. That's high, 1 ball and 1 strike.
Don't do anything overly brave, Brant.
Too late, already did it.
That wasn't a foul ball, by the way, that sound.
Well, the winged visitor is gone now. All right, back to business here. Lynch, fly ball to center. Briley St. Clair in the sun, makes the catch. And Whitley gets caught between the bases, tagged out. Whitley looked like she was bluffed going to third, but didn't have time to get back. And St. Clair guns her down. That's her second outfield assist today. And a base running error ends the inning. The second time Lynch, or beg your pardon, Whitley has been thrown out on the base pass. And we go to the bottom of the fourth in a 2-0 game. And welcome back to the Bobcat Softball Stadium. Coming up for the Monarchs in the home half of the fourth, Brookshire, Torres, and Keene. Moments ago, Briley St. Clair, another outfield assist twice. She's thrown out Tate Whitley once at the plate in the first inning. And at the top of this inning, at second base, she was caught leaning way too far off the bag as Brookshire turns on one to left, and that's out of play.
Yeah, you go back to the play at home plate, and that was kind of, getting thrown out in active commission. And there it's a case where Whitley doesn't keep her eye on the ball, and it was an act of omission where St. Clair give her credit, of course, to make a strong, accurate throw to second base and catch Whitley kind of asleep at the moment. It happens, right?
Mm-hmm.
Whitley and her team just have to put it behind them and move on to the next play. Learn from it.
Here's a 1-1 from Valdez against Brookshire. High fly, left field, and that is out of here. Brookshire with a home run, the first home run of the day for either team, and it makes it 3-0 Monarchs.
There are some clouds up above. If those were rain clouds, Brookshire might have caused some precipitation. That was a rain maker. Look at this thing. It is out of frame. And it's going to come down at some point. Oh, there it is.
Right into the Monarchs bullpen. That Monarch celebration at home plate after Brookshire goes deep for the second time of the series. And how about her day? 2 for 2 A home run and a double, and has driven in 2 runs.
Well, and hey, partner, go back to her at bat in the 7th inning last night, a double.
Yeah.
That's a good little stretch of 3 ABs.
3 ABs and a 3-0 lead here for the Monarchs now. Base is empty for Kelly Torres and takes a strike from Valdez, 1-1.
You mentioned at the top of the telecast how the long ball was an issue for Valdez on Thursday.
Yeah, 3 homers given up on Thursday. And for the Monarchs, that's now 7 home runs for them in the series. Meanwhile, the Tidal Wave have 9.
Well, some teams would like to have 9 home runs in a month. But, and this goes back to a convo you and I had last night, if you're going to give up a home run, give up the solo shots. It's when traffic starts happening in front of those home runs when real problems exist.
When you look back at Friday's game, the Tidal Wave were able to hit several solo home runs, but lost that game 5-4. 3 solo homers hit, but again, all of them with nobody on base.
Exhibit A. Exactly what we're talking about.
Whereas when runners were on base, as Torres grounds one to third, vacuumed up by Cannon for the first out. When runners were on base in Friday's 5-4 loss, the Tidal Wave were 1 for 13.
There you go. You know, of course, everybody watching, you know, everybody knows I'm from Maryland, grew up an Oriole fan, and everybody knows the phrase, the Earl Weaver, the 3-run home run.
Base is empty, 1 out for Jenna Keene. 3-0 game, Monarchs on top in the bottom of the 4th inning. Nobody on, 1 away, and Keene with a base hit up the middle to center. Hard turn from first, will put on the brakes there. It's been a nice series so far for Jenna Keene.
It has, and I promise, I was just sitting here thinking that Keene looks so much more comfortable now than she did at the beginning of the season when we saw her, where it looked like she was struggling with the bat. She's no longer struggling.
Emily Hott, swing and a miss. Foul tip strike, says Bob Hines behind the plate. Counts 0-1. So again, the first time these two met, Coastal Bend winning a 3-game series, 2-1. And then swept the Monarchs a couple of weeks ago in 4 games. Keene takes off for second. She'll take it easily after the pitch got away from Ramos. And a stolen base there for Jenna Keene.
Yeah, I'd like to see it again. I think Ramos there just fell victim of trying to speed things up too much, and therefore couldn't really come up with the pitch, couldn't make the play cleanly, and that allowed Keene to scamper to second base.
Again, it was a 4-game sweep just a couple of weeks ago in the other series in Robstown. But as we've talked about, you know, now 10 games into the series, make it 11 with today's game. Most of the games have been really competitive, coming down to the final 6 or final inning or so. As Hott has that ball go off the glove in foul territory by Cannon. If she touches that in fair territory, Hott could take first base. But instead, it's just a missed opportunity there at third.
Yeah, and I think if you ask Cannon, she'd say, well, first of all, it was a tough play. Let's not lose sight of that, but a play that she would have liked to have made.
That hits Hott.
Nope.
Or no, it does not. I beg your pardon.
It hit her, but I think our home plate umpire there is going to rule that Hott stuck her elbow out. We'd have to look at it again. Watch that front elbow. Man.
It looks like she tries to turn away from the pitch.
Yeah, exactly.
And Hott strikes out. So a lot happening there. You have a dropped ball in foul territory that could have retired Hott. Then you think she's going to reach on a hit by pitch. She's called back and then strikes out looking on a pitch that maybe was outside.
Yeah, that's tough if you're hot, if you're the Monarchs.
St. Clair puts a bunt down, fielded eventually by Ramos and doesn't have a play. So a bunt single for Briley St. Clair, who's had a big impact offensively and now is on base for the first time.
That bunt perfection. Got that ball to kind of die there. What is that, about 6-7 feet out in front of home plate? And with the wheels that St. Clair has, there was zero chance that even with a great play by, say, Ramos, the catcher, you weren't going to get St. Clair at first.
So first and third, 2 outs. Top of the order coming up to face Valdez for third time. Sand is 1 for 2. That's low for ball 1.
I know it's the law of recency, but it wasn't that long ago that everybody saw the tidal wave put up 14 runs. You know the Monarchs want to play tack on here.
The 1-0. Sam with a bunt down of her own. That pushes foul. And the count evens 1 ball, 1 strike. So again, the final week of the regular season on deck. The Monarchs going up to Lubbock to take on Hub City. And the tidal wave here in San Marcos to face the reigning champion Texas Smoke. Runner goes for second. St. Clair is there without a throw. So some aggressive base running in this inning for the Monarchs after a second stolen base.
Yeah, and taking that second base bag by St. Clair, it isn't insignificant. It takes away that force out. You know, if there's a ground ball up the middle, that relatively easy out you can get at second. Puts a little more pressure on the defense.
2-1, that ball lasered into right for a hit, bounces off of Chellerman, and that is going to score 2. Well said, Bill. And now Sand is second base on the throw. So 2-run score. If St. Clair doesn't steal second, she doesn't score on that play, but she did, she does, and it is 5-0.
Yeah, big base knock. The Monarchs have to be happy with the way they've constructed this offensive inning.
You know, the game of the WPF over the past month or so has been built around the 3-run homer, not a lot of manufacture, small ball, or running the base as well, but the Monarchs have done that today.
Absolutely.
Strike 1 to Flaherty. Waiting on deck, Sarah Vanderford.
You know, Valdez, these 5 runs are going to go on her line, but you think what a tough luck day it's been so far for her.
Flaherty turns on that one foul. And the count quickly 0-2. So a lot of these Monarch hitters saw Valdez 4 times, give or take, on Thursday. Now seeing her for a 3rd time today, and they're swinging with a little bit more confidence right now. Flaherty, fly ball to left. Well hit, and the catch is made at the warning track by Whitley. Flaherty just missed, going deep. But in the inning, the Monarchs score 3 times, often starting with a home run from Susie Brookshire. Second home run of the series, and it has helped put the Monarchs on top by 5. 4 innings done, we go to the 5th. You're watching the WPF on the official YouTube channel. We're back after this. A series that could decide second place in the WPF, albeit with 1 week to go in the regular season. And so far, the Monarchs have taken 2 of 3, trying to make it 3 of 4 to win the series here today. And seesaw back into second place, right now a half game back of Coastal Bend for seconds in the standings.
Well, and you bring up an outstanding point, Brant. Coastal Bend is taking on the Smoke next weekend, whereas the Monarchs are taking on Hub City.
Yeah.
You know, if you think about movers and shakers next week, you know, it sets up as a tough weekend for the tidal wave.
It does, and should Coastal Bend come back to win this game, their lead would be a game and a half. Now, possible certainly for the Monarchs to catch them next week, but harder. Alzondo with a rip to left, and what a catch by Emily Hotz. Well, you talk about reading the ball off of the bat. Hott makes that grab for the first out.
Tremendous job by Hott, and it's all the first step there. Look at Hott. No hesitation, no false step. Gets over and makes the play. And softball's funny, right? Bat and ball sports are funny. Last night, that ball was dropping for the tidal wave. It was finding grass.
And now a liner that shoots foul to the right side.
Last night, that ball for the tidal wave would have hit chalk.
Yep.
Right, it's crazy. You go to bed, you wake up, and it's a new day.
You know, think about the story of this game so far. Offensively, you know, for the Monarchs, been really well-rounded, power and speed. A lot of contributions through the lineup as well, batters 1 through 9. Some great defense from the outfield in particular. But one of the players we haven't talked about enough is Msona Halajan. 4 scoreless innings so far, and she has faced just 1 more than the minimum in the game.
Yeah, add this little nugget. Aspen Wesley is getting loose in the Monarchs bullpen, so that's what you have behind Halajan whenever her day is done.
And now Wiggins pops up to Flaherty, and 2 outs here in the 5th.
Coming to the ballpark, the Monarchs, you know, kind of mapping things out, putting together the plan. You know, let's be honest, you wonder how many innings they had Halajan going.
Mm-hmm.
She's been masterful.
Got a pinch hitter coming up here for the tidal wave. Alyssa Garcia will hit in place of Michaela Ramos, and that means she could be also replacing her behind the plate. Nobody on, 2 outs. Halajan against Garcia. Fouled away, strike 1. Looking at the league records, Texas Smoke are 24-1, Tidal Wave 11-15, Monarchs 10-15, and Hub City 6-20. The Adelitas 6-20, beg your pardon. Now the Adelitas 6-20, but they're 0-10 against the Smoke.
Yeah. Yeah, the Smoke have put a hurting on everybody in the league. And the Smoke, of course, they're a great team, right? But going up against 3 expansion teams is... You saw a coach come in, have a conversation with Bob Hines, our home plate umpire. Now the umpires are going to meet. What did we miss, Brant?
All we saw moments ago was a foul ball hit by Garcia.
Something about maybe Halajan, her delivery, illegal pitch.
I wondered, did Torres' mitt get in the way of the bat?
Oh, catcher interference.
Yeah,
that's a good guess. I think a better guess than mine.
Everything looked square about Halajan's delivery, and there wasn't a conversation with her by her coaches or the infield afterwards. So I have to imagine it was something about Torres' glove being too close to the plate.
I'm going to vote that you are correct. As look down the first baseline, Victor Canales, or check that, first base umpire Whitney Fulvin having a conversation with coach. There we go. There's a look at it.
0-2. That's a miss high to Garcia. 1 ball and 2 strikes. So again, the pinch hitter here, Alyssa Garcia from Chula Vista, California. Wrapped up her college career at San Diego State.
Chula Vista, a suburb of San Diego, about 10, 15 minutes south of downtown San Diego.
Swing and a miss, and that is the first to make it the second strikeout of the day for Halajan, and that'll do it in the 5th inning. So to Halajan, 5 scoreless innings, has only given up 3 hits and has faced just 1 more than the minimum, 2 strikeouts along the way. We head to the bottom of the 5th. Her Monarchs on top, 5-0. We head to the bottom of the 5th inning. Speaking of the number 5 strikeouts so far for Tidal Wave starting pitcher Cassie Valdez. She now has 17 in 10 innings in the series.
Been exceptional and at times unhittable. But then today, there have been other times where, let's be honest, Coastal Bend has had issues defensively, at times making plays. And, you know, Brookshire, it was a solo home run, but there was, you know, a pitch that Valdez would like to have back.
Let's be honest as well, her defense at times has not done her any favors.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was touching upon. You want to tread lightly there, right? Because it's easy to play the game up here in the booth as opposed to being down on the field, having your feet in the dirt or out in the grass. But what is it? There's one error charged to the tidal wave, but I think if you go back and dissect the game, there have been 3 or 4 other makeable plays. Or maybe, you know, throwing to the wrong base, those kinds of situations.
One ball, one strike. And as we thought, it is Alyssa Garcia behind the plate now in place of Michaela Ramos. 1-1 to Vanderford. That's a little high. 2 balls and a strike. Vanderford, Piper, Brookshire. All the bat here in the bottom of the 5th.
Seeing Valdez today going up against Vanderford has been using her changeup, I think, a little more often than we've seen her do against other batters. Goes back to the fastball there.
Yeah, you would think that Vanderford, used to seeing the changeup, her Texas State teammate, Jessica Mullins, that was her go-to pitch.
One of the best in the nation. Yeah, when Mullins mastered that pitch, she took herself to an even higher level, to another level.
Vanderford got confused in the ball strike out there for a moment. She was ready to stay at the plate, but that was ball 4. And so she's on with a leadoff walk to start the 5th.
I was watching, who were the Phillies playing the other night, and Ryan Schwarber was hit by a pitch, I want to say. And saw Joey Bell, Albert Bell do that years ago when he was with the Orioles, but wanted to stay up. I want to hit.
You talk about one of the most violent swings in the history of Major League Baseball. Albert Bell had one of those.
Yeah, he did. I don't think Sarah was doing that there.
1-0 to Piper. 1 ball, 1 strike.
Up and in. Good job, Valdez, using both sides of the plate. You don't want to miss middle to Piper.
Piper so far in the game, 1 for 2 with the strikeout. Scored a run in the second on the double hit by Brookshire, who's on deck. Way out of the crouch of Garcia. That's ball 2.
Good job, Garcia, keeping Vanderford honest at first. I just feel this would be an enormous win for the Monarchs going into the remainder of the season, however long the rest of the season will be for them.
Well, I think so in this regard. You know, the first 2 times they faced Coastal Bend, yes, all the game's competitive, but it's a bottom line business, and they lost 6 of 7, including getting swept 2 weeks ago, for them to battle back and potentially win the series, knowing that they could potentially face the Tidal Wave in a postseason series. That's huge for their confidence moving forward.
And they will see Valdez again.
Piper draws the walk, and all of a sudden, 2-on, nobody outs. And if you're the Monarchs, you have the chance to perhaps end this game early with Brookshire coming up.
Brookshire's already shown some pop. What did we say? Her last 3 at-bats, 2 doubles, home run. Nobody warming in the Tidal Wave bullpen.
And you get the sense that Tyler Gunnelson is smelling blood of the water here. He's going to take Piper out for a pinch runner and Sarah Fessler. He wants 3 runs in this inning.
There are quite a few fans here wearing Monarchs gear who agree with everything you just said, Brant.
That doesn't happen very often. All right, so here we go. Susie Brookshire, 2 for 2 day with a home run and a double. 2-on, nobody out in the 5th inning in a 5-0 game. Swing and a miss. Runner goes for third. The throw is high, and now Fessler takes second as well. Not a true double steal, but it winds up being one, and now second and third with nobody out.
Yeah, the issue you face when you're in at the corners, Cannon, the third baseman, in, and Sarah Vanderford, good heads-up play there to kind of sneak in behind.
Inside of Brookshire, 1 ball, 1 strike.
Because, you know, pretend at home that you're the third baseman there, right? You're mindful of the fact that there's pitch to batter. And then all of a sudden you have the catcher having to make a throw to you as you're on the back pedal. And, oh, by the way, you have to make the tag. You know what I'm saying? That's a lot going on down there.
And also maybe sensing that this defense has had a tough day, challenge them, right, to make a play if you're the Monarchs here.
Put pressure on them, right? Good point.
Swung on, sharp grounder glove by Wiggins, but by the time she recovers after knocking it down, Vanderford scores and nobody is out. Everybody is safe. Runners first and second, and now 6-0.
The normally sure-handed Wiggins. It was a hard shot, no doubt. A tough hop, but 100% looked like she had the ball there. And worst case, you're thinking if you're the Tidal Wave, you'll get an out somewhere. Wasn't to be.
Kelly Torres. That hits her. And nothing controversial about that before we saw a hit batter called back by plate umpire Bob Hines, but Torres clearly hit there. And now the walk-off run rule run stands at second base.
Incidentally, it was ruled an error to Wiggins, allowing Brookshire to reach, and that brought in Vanderford.
Bases loaded, nobody out. Run rule possibility here as Jetta Keene steps up. You need an 8-run lead after 5, and so for the Monarchs, they need just 2 of these runners to come home.
Did you have an Etch-a-Sketch as a kid?
Absolutely, I did.
Of course, everybody did. I think today's going to go down as one of those games for the Tidal Wave where they just have to clear it off the screen.
Just shake it off, right? Fly ball hit by Keene, tagging from third. Fessler, throw to the plate is on line, but it bounces away from Garcia, and Fessler is safe to make it 7-0. But I'll say this, Tate Whitley with a great throw to home.
Absolutely perfect throw home, and Garcia did all she could do to come up with the ball and apply the tag. The problem that Whitley and Garcia have there is the runner coming in from third base, Fessler, is obstructing the view of Garcia of the ball coming in.
And also of note, with that ball bouncing away from Garcia, every runner advanced. So first base is open here, takes a double play out of order. Emily Hott, ground ball to the right side, runner coming home, throw, tag, not in time. Brookshire scores to end the game early, and the Monarchs run rule the tidal wave to take the series 8-0 your final score.
How good a job did the Monarchs do today in putting last night behind them? Just pressure, pressure, pressure. And can I add this as well? What about the job that Holojan did in the circle today? Masterpiece.
5 scoreless innings for Holojan, faced just one more than the minimum. And the Monarchs, who were swept by this team 2 weeks ago, come back to win the series 3-1. And now they have seesawed back into second place in the WPF standings.
Yeah, it's going to be an exciting finish to see where these two end up. And can I just add this as well? When you talk about the postseason, if the Tidal Wave and Monarchs cross paths again, it will be must-see TV.
So again, the final score 8-0. Monarchs win the game. Sona Holojan, the winning pitcher. Big day for Susie Brookshire. A home run and a double. Think about this too. 3 runs in the 5th inning for the Monarchs with no hits.
No hits. You talked about the ability to produce runs, manufacture runs. In a summer that's been full of home runs and bombs and missiles, the Monarchs were able to construct offense today, and that says a lot about their team.
Well, that's going to wrap up our coverage of today's game and of this series. For Bill Colhane, I'm Brand Freeman, saying so long from San Marcos, Texas, after an hour and 15-minute game. The final score in 5 innings, the Monarchs 8, the Tidal Wave 0. For more information on the WPF, log on to WProFastpitch.com. This has been a presentation of the WPF. Until next time, enjoy your weekend. So long from Bobcat Softball Stadium.